Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make tiny improvements to your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon.
Hello, welcome to this episode. Today, I am going to talk about saying no to your clients. So we have to do this for all different reasons. Sometimes you're simply not available. Other times you don't want to work with this person. Other times we're on the verge of burnout and we need to figure out how to protect ourselves and not take on too much. So I'm going to talk about all of the ways to say no, all of the reasons to say no in this episode. Before we jump into the episode, I wanted to take a second to talk about the book club. So if you are a member of the Patreon group, that is where we're going to host a monthly book club from now on. So you might remember that at the beginning of this year, I was going to do monthly episodes with book reviews, but I quickly realized it's nearly impossible to do a thorough review, an in-depth overview of books in one episode. They end up being 2 hours long, and that is just not what I'm here to do. So instead, I am moving the book club idea over to the Patreon group. So there are already 61 of you in there. I am so appreciative of that. And most of you joined with the promise of literally nothing. So that was so generous. I'm just blown away by all of you. But if you're not in the Patreon group yet, you can join. It's $3 to $5 a month. There's different levels. But at every level, you will get into what I'm calling the book club. Basically, think about the book club as Audible for your balloon business. So there is not a lot of time in the day. I know that we all have intentions of reading self-development books, but a lot of times it just doesn't make it on the list of things to do. So I will be guiding you through books. All you have to do is listen. You are more than welcome to get your copy of the book and follow along. And that way we can have a little bit of chatter about it in the book club group. I will be posting additional weekly episodes about the book of the month right inside that Patreon group. So if you are not a member, you can click the link in the show notes to join us. If you are a member already, again, obviously the book club is totally optional. You don't have to participate, but a tip is to download the Patreon app. It's really helpful to just be able to click open the app, and then all of the recordings will be right there for you. So this is going to start in 2 days. So the book of the month for March is called Working Hard, Hardly Working. So I grabbed a copy off of Amazon. It's by Grace Beverly. How to Achieve More, Stress Less, and Feel Fulfilled. So who doesn't need that? So I'm really excited to dive in. Like I said, I'll be recording episodes weekly. Usually those release on a Sunday, and you can listen along, you can read along, you can comment along. I'm really excited about that. So let's take a quick break, and then we will get into this week's episode all about saying no.
The number one question I receive is, where do I order my balloons? And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Havin a Party Wholesale. Not only do I want to order from great people who really know the balloon industry, but I want a nice selection of products and a really good website. They have it all. Not only is their website easy to use, but it also has updated quantities on all of the products, so you know that what you're ordering is what you're going to get. They have super fast shipping, and even though they're in New York and I'm in Wisconsin, I always get my orders in just a few days. So check out Havin a Party Wholesale in the show notes wherever you're listening for your next order, and make sure to tell them the Bright Balloon podcast sent you.
Okay, welcome back. All right, I heard something on a podcast recently that I've started to live by, and that was this idea that if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And I just love that idea because there is so much that comes across my inbox that it's maybe I'll do that, or that sounds like it could be interesting. And you know what? Life is too short. So from now on, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And that goes for my clients and my inquiries as well. If it's not something that excites me, and that might be for a couple reasons. It could be the actual design, it could be the amount of money, like whatever. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And I recently just did this. Someone emailed me and the job was like a little too far. The way they worded their inquiry was strange. Like basically they were just saying in so many words that they didn't want to spend a lot of money. And their color scheme was super weird. And I know that might sound odd, but for me, having to decorate a wedding with mint green and burgundy, was just going to be a problem. I don't know how to do that well. Maybe I'm not a good enough artist, but I was like, this just isn't gonna be for me. So I declined the job and said I wasn't available. And I'm so glad because previously I probably would have been like, yes, I'm available, and then I would have dreaded that weird color scheme for months and months. And again, the distance is a problem for me, especially as we get into these summer months. I'm trying to stay closer in my immediate delivery zone. So again, this idea of if it's not a hell yes, it's a no, and that I guess just decisive, quick thinking has really started to save me some time, and it started to help me make better decisions. But sometimes it's easier said than done when we actually have to say no. So some of those examples might be, if it's a repeat client and it wasn't a great time the first time around and now you have to say no. Another time might be maybe the money's really good, but it's far away and you have to decide whether or not you want to take that job. There might be some red flags. There's all these things that we have to kind of use our spidey senses to kind of vet our clients. And sometimes you have to go with your gut. Other times it's really obvious, it's outside of your delivery zone, or you actually are booked and you can't take the job. But even when it's those obvious I'm not available type of responses, even those emails can be difficult to write. So I'm going to talk through some of the wording I use, some of the strategies that I use. So first off, this idea of how do you gracefully say no. So let's take a really easy example. Let's say that I really am truly booked on a weekend that someone wants me to do balloons. So that should just be an email saying, sorry, I'm unavailable. However, I think you can use some strategy with how to do that gracefully so that the next time people might come back to you. So the first tip that I give, which again, people might disagree with this, but in my email template that I use to decline a job, I actually recommend other balloon people in the area. So I think that comes with a certain level of confidence, knowing that there's enough to go around and that it's about supporting each other versus competition. So if you're not to that point where you feel confident recommending other people, I understand, but I find that it softens the blow when I recommend other decorators. And I have other people in my area where, depending on where the job is, I can recommend the best option. But in that email, it usually makes the person really happy. I actually usually get a thank you response when I say I'm not available, but check with this person or this person. They also do great work and keep us in mind for future events. That's kind of my standard I'm not available email. Now, another strategy that is my preference that I really love is offering something else. So this idea of no, but. So I'm not available for your Saturday event, but have you considered a grab-and-go garland? So that is my new go-to strategy, and I have to credit my friend Allie from Charming Garlands. She has an entire episode on the podcast about grab-and-go garlands, and since then, I have been offering grab-and-go garland pickups from my home-based shop on Thursdays. So I offer them in a very narrow window, only on Thursdays, and people can book and pay those directly on my website. So pretty much zero admin work. But instead of just saying, no, I'm not available, I, if possible, try to convert that into a different sale. So no, I'm not available on your event date, but have you considered a grab-and-go garland? Here are all the details. Book here. That way I'm able to retain some of those customers. And a lot of times, if people need one organic garland, that is something that is appropriate to install themselves. They don't need to pay me to drive an hour to install something like that. So if they're interested in coming and picking it up, I give directions, I give supplies, I include some hooks. So it's a whole thing. And that has actually helped me retain some of that business. likewise, it's helped me get some business that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Like there's a lot of people that are not looking to spend $500 on balloons. So instead of saying that's not my customer, I have made grab and goes really affordable. I sell mine for $100, pick up only on Thursdays, and I've been able to gain a little bit of business just in that category alone. So if grab and go garlands aren't your thing, maybe it's like marquees or helium bouquets. Having a no but option is really great. Another thing that happens with saying no is that people like to tell you why you actually are available. So if you say, no, I'm not available, and these are the reasons why, I find that customers will frequently respond and tell me why those reasons why can be worked around. So for example, if I say, I'm sorry, I'm not available because you're outside of my service area, they like to say, well, I'm not that far outside of your service area, or they'll offer to pay. Like, I know you're outside of my service area. What if I pay more? And that's a really tempting, kind of bait to go after. But I believe that you should set your limits. If you've taken my laser focused solopreneur course, you know I am all about limits. Setting those firmly protect you, they protect your customers, they give everyone the best experience possible. And knowing your limits and setting those expectations up front is really important to running a streamlined and efficient business. So I like to set those limits on my website, and then I don't feel the need to communicate them again to my clients. So what does that mean? I don't tell my client that the answer is no because they're out of my service area, or no because they didn't hit my minimum, or no because I'm coming back from vacation the night before and I'm probably going to be tired and I don't really want to take their job. I do not believe in oversharing information with clients. They don't need to know why you're not available, and I feel like people do that as a way to soften the blow. Like, I would take your job, but you're just a little too far, or I would take your job, but like, they do not need to know. Just have a standard decline email template and use that every time. Sorry, I'm not available for your job. I recommend ABC balloon companies and you should go with them. They do great work. Have a great celebration. Keep us in mind for next time. Don't give your customers the option to like fight back, if that makes sense. And people will do this a lot. Like they try to explain to me why my limits aren't appropriate. But I just like to kind of steal their thunder. I don't even give them that option. I don't tell them why I'm not available. I just let them assume that it's because I'm booked. And most of the time that is the case. But customers will go out of their way to work around whatever limit or excuse you tell them. So just don't tell them anything. They don't need to know. All right, I have one more tip. After the break, I'm going to talk about a really awkward situation that I sometimes found myself in and how I've been able to get out of it.
How many Google reviews do you have? Hi, I'm Jeff at Asset Lab, and did you know that we recommend businesses get to 40 5-star reviews on Google My Business before they even start asking for reviews on other platforms? If you're facing competition, we work with balloon decor companies every day, and we can help you figure out what's the right thing to do for you so that you can get more leads, more phone calls, more contact form submissions. Learn more about us at assetlab.us.
All right, so my last tip has to do with confirming your availability. I like to be a little bit strategic with how I do this, because here's what was starting to happen. My first step of my workflow after someone filled out my inquiry form was confirming my availability, and it still pretty much is. But I started getting these clients that after I confirmed my availability, they started presenting some red flags. And you know who those clients are. They want to email 50 times a day. They want to talk to you on the phone. They want to text you at all hours of the night. They thought they knew what they wanted, but then they changed their mind, and then they changed the venue. And then all of a sudden, they're out of control, and you are just along for this crazy ride. That is not the type of customer you want, but it's hard because you've already told them that you're available. So I changed one word in my email template. And instead of saying, I am available on your event date, I now say, I have some availability on your event date. And I know that seems ridiculous, But the thing that does is it tells the customer that I still might not be available at your time. So that's why I like to say I have some availability. What were you thinking? And that's when I kind of lead them into my part of the workflow where they have to send me inspiration photos or talk about what they have in mind. And that is usually when some of those red flags come out. And then it's really easy to be like, oh, shoot, you know what? I would have to deliver at this time in order to make that work. And you can't get into your venue until later. So I recommend you go with someone else. I'm not the best fit for that job. It leaves you a sliver of room to get out if you need to, because it's almost impossible to say, I'm available for your event, and then say, just kidding, no, I'm not because you're crazy. So I like to say I have some availability and I don't specify when that is. And then as things start to flesh out, then I confirm the time. And 99% of the time, it works out fine. And people are awesome. I have the best clients in the world. But that 1% of the time can really make your life miserable, especially if you're planning an event that's months in the future with a difficult client. So leave that sliver, that little exit room available so that you're not fully committing to them before you know how they work and what they want. That has really helped me. And maybe it's just like internal. Like if I say, yes, I'm available, I personally have a hard time saying, just kidding, now I'm not. You might have another way of doing this. You might say like, no, you have to pay your deposit before we start talking design. Otherwise, I'm not confirming anything. I know there are people that take money up front before they even start designing. But again, for me, the money's not worth it. Like if someone's a nightmare, I want out no matter what. So I like leaving that little window open just in case things aren't panning out. All right, that is all I have for you this week. Don't be afraid to say no. Remember that you are the most important thing in your business. And if you are getting taken advantage of, or if you are putting yourself in a situation to burn out, it's not worth it. It's not going to last. So you need to set those limits in your business, say no when it's appropriate, and be confident in doing so. I will see you next week. Thanks for joining me in this week's episode. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light in a few minutes or less. If you wish there were more episodes, you are in luck. You can join us in our Patreon group for our monthly book club. I record weekly episodes guiding you through a different self-development book each month. For as little as $3 a month, you can join more than 50 other balloon business owners in our private group. Click the link in the show notes to join us. So many of you have reached out and told me how the podcast has changed your business, and I love hearing those stories. But you might be ready to take things to the next level. If that's you, you should check out the laser-focused Solopreneur course where I walk you through more than 2 hours of video content showing exactly how I run my business as a solopreneur. I run a 6-figure balloon business, I work a full-time job, I have a toddler, and I produce this podcast weekly. And it's not because I'm more efficient than anybody else, it's just because I apply this laser-focused framework to every decision that I make. If you're struggling with work-life balance, figuring out how to grow your business in a manageable way, and feeling like there just aren't enough hours in the day, this course is for you. Check it out using the link in the show notes.